Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to the We All Juggle Knives channel and my review of this knife. This knife has no name, but it's got a true full tang, it's got G10 handle scales, it is an Mtech, yes. Now this is what we call a last ditch knife or a boot knife usually, and I have a suggestion for the name of this knife. I think it should be called the SAF knife, the Shankafool knife. Now, like I said, very inexpensive. I think it's around $12 on Amazon. I'll include the link, but I have comparisons with much more pricey knives in this same category coming up. Yeah, a knife like this, it pretty much has one purpose. You know, it's like those memes. You had one job, you know, and I think you know what that job is. All right, here is the Tops Lion's toothpick. I have previously reviewed this knife. Now, this knife, kind of same idea. Basically a super nice shank. This goes for around $92 currently. And I will include that Amazon link if you want one. That's a butcher's glove, by the way. This is from my previous review of that Tops knife. So if you're interested in that knife, you can just check out that review. I'll include the link. Now, another knife in this category that I've also reviewed is this Hoffman Harpoon, also by Tops. Or produced by Tops. And you know, it's kind of the same idea. It's something you don't want sticking out of your neck, right? Now this is about $65 currently. Right, so in this category, you can go pricey, you can go less expensive. It really depends, you know, are you just collecting it, or do you feel that you would actually have to defend yourself? You know, you're going to have to decide what your needs are, but, you know, despite being cheap, that Mtech is built correctly for what this type of knife is supposed to do, which is basically to pierce, you know, to air hole a bad guy. That's what a boot knife is for. It's actually an anti-grappling type knife. You know, they made this knife true full tang and extra thick for how short it is, and just short enough to be easy to carry and conceal. Alright, I did a lot of stabbing into hard targets with this knife just to test it out. Now the blade length on this is 2 3/4 inches. You know, usually in most literature they'll say a blade should be about 3 inches minimum. And yeah, I mean, you know, I could see how if this was a 1/4 inch longer, that'd be nice. But the truth is, I mean, if you start going all Woody Woodpecker with this knife on someone's face, I mean, likely they would lose an eye or two, or 3, no, 2 at most. And they would be bleeding from many, many holes, and they would probably leave you alone. And that poor palate will never mess with me again. But, you know, more on boot knives. As I said, often used as an anti-grappling implement. Police are often trained to protect their firearm with a knife. And I actually spoke to a viewer who is a police officer. And he actually had to do that. You know, he was wrestling around with a perpetrator, and the perp actually grabbed for his gun, you know, the police officer's gun. Well, the police officer, you know, he carried a knife on opposite side specifically for that situation, and he used that knife, and it probably saved his life. So, you know, little boot knives, you know, that can be what it's for. You know, the point of a boot knife is it's so small, and if a person is grappling you, they have to get so close that they might not see you reaching for your boot knife, right? So it's a surprise weapon. And really, you know, a lot of times when they say grappling you, that's a rapist, you know, if you're a woman, or maybe even if you're not. All right, here's the sheath for this. Really bad sheath. It's like a throwing knife type sheath. Yeah, you know, if I was going to carry this, I would just make my own sheath. I can make a better one than that. But as for this Mtech, you know, cheap but effective. People are going to laugh at it because they want something prestigious. They want a pricey name. Well, just because it's not a fancy collectible doesn't mean it couldn't do horrible things to flesh. I mean, think of the stuff people are using in prison. Basically pointed pieces of plastic, a piece they broke off their lunch tray or something, half of a toothbrush that they melted and then they put a point on it just with friction, I mean, this may be cheap to you, but believe me, if they could get this in prison, they would love it, Now, using it outside, hey, that's a way that you can get to prison if you're not careful. Obviously, when I speak of weaponry, I'm talking about legitimate self-defense or soldiers in time of war. But yeah, this thing, cheap but effective. I don't even think Mtech designed it this way on purpose. I think they were just trying to make something that looks cool, looks funky, and they kind of accidentally came up with a model that would actually serve as that one job, one purpose blade. Oh, by the way, this thing is dull as a butter knife, and it doesn't matter because it's not meant to cut except to cut as part of a thrust. In fact, it's a little safer because it doesn't matter if you go up on the edge, right? But yeah, for that one purpose, it would serve. Hope you enjoyed seeing it. To spin, we all juggle knives.